This video is about how to make work fun. That's what it's about. These are all the things that I want to eradicate in your mind, and the outcome is a healthy relationship with work and yourself. Okay, let's hop into it. So, you, yes, you, are where all of your strengths are located. Let's start off with that. So you are the conduit and holder of all of your strengths and strength. Okay, so like if you want to take off the S. Meaning that you cannot have success without being you. The only way you can be successful is if you're you, right? So faking who you are doesn't work. And I've tried this. It doesn't work. You can't change who you are. So, especially if you have ADHD, okay, you have to work with your desires. You have to work with your interests because our brains are wired for interest. You can hyper-focus on something that you're interested in. You can hyper-focus on that. You're going to have a hard time focusing on anything else, right? So if you can take that passion and then turn it into something valuable, that's the goal. Okay, so how do you make sure that you are getting all your needs? How do you make sure that you are actually coming out in your work? Because the way we're going to do this, the way that we're actually going to make it so that your work is easier and you have a healthier relationship with yourself, is we're going to make it so that your work is not disruptive of yourself. For 90% of people, their job or whatever they're working on is something they absolutely hate, right? And even if it's something you love, even if it's something that you love, it's typically something that still sucks. All right? Like, for example, I like making YouTube videos, but I have these days where it's like I'm 16 cuts in, or some amount. I didn't count, but that's what it feels like, you know? And it sucks. I'm not having fun at this point. So, how do you change that? How do you change that? You have to engage the council. Okay, what is the council? What is the council? All right, so the council is essentially, you have to understand that your mind, your identity, is made up of all these different little versions of you. You are not a simple creature. You are a complex creature. You have a bunch of different needs and a bunch of different wants that all, most of them contradict each other. Like, honestly. And nobody has taught you how to manage these guys. So you have like this little round table in your head of all these different, we're going to call them actors, that all want different things. They're all there for different reasons. Let's see. They're all there for different reasons, and they have different goals. Okay? And there's tons of them. There's tons of these actors in your mind. And they have drama. They have relationships to each other. Some of them are fighting. Some of them are forming alliances. Like, and it's constantly changing. It's an ecosystem. You can kind of think it as like a family, you know? Like, there's a lot of, like, just, sometimes there's, like, sibling rivalries. Actually, I don't know if that's really a good point to make, but I don't know if that's a good connection. But what I do know is that if you want to be happy, all of these guys have to be happy. Every single one of them has to feel like they have their needs met. Okay? So, let me break down to you what happens when you are at work. So, typically, you have one actor inside of you who likes to work. And we'll call this like your productivity actor. He just likes to reach his goals. He's happy As long as he's reaching his goals, he's happy, right? So the problem is that he's the only one who wants to do this. Like, there's like 16 other ones that don't really care. And are like, man, get this guy out of the way. I just want to go consume a bunch of dopamine and like do nothing. Or like one of them's like, I want to do art. One of them's like, I want to play video games. One of them's like, I want to do this hobby. One of them's like, I want to go sit outside and just like stare at birds and just like do absolutely nothing. That's like your little Zen master one, you know? I don't know how many people have one of those. I have one. But let's see. And I lost my thought. Where are we going with this? Okay, the council. So you have one that wants to actually do the work, right? So typically, what this looks like when you're at work is you're sitting here hunched over your desk or something, and only this guy is actually getting what he wants in that moment. And all the other ones, and this is why you have a lot of distractions as well, is they're like trying to stay on board, but they're like, I don't care. And this one's like, maybe stays on board a little longer. He's like, oh, I want to play video games. And he starts thinking about video games. And then this one is like, I should just stop what I'm doing, and I should just stare out my window, you know? And that's old Zen Master. Now, this is crazy. Like, you're not... Look at your focus. Like, literally just look at your focus. It's everywhere. You're not getting anything done. It's not going to happen. So... And you also kind of look like a chimera. Or like the Flood or something. So... Whoops. How do we fix this? The way you fix this is you have to create a system. Okay? And really, you have to create a collection of systems. It's going to take some work. Like, I'll tell you right now, it's going to take some work. But you have to create a collection of systems that reframes your work from being bad. That is something that's just costing all of these different actors resources in your mind. Like when they look at your work, all they're seeing is something that's going to cost them resources and attention. And they don't want to give you it. It's their attention. And this is why things are difficult. So what you need is a system that reworks and reframes the work to be good. How do we do this? Well, I'll tell you. Let's break it down. So let's say you have an artist in you. Okay? Let's say you have an artist actor. And pretty much everybody does. Pretty much everybody has a creative side to them. Like whatever that creativity looks like, whether it's architecture, painting, just designing, crafting words. Everybody has some sort of creative skill that their brain would actually like to engage with. Okay? So, this is your creativity guy, which is probably your most important actor, like honestly, in life. And let's say he's a designer and an artist, right? So if your work is completely devoid of art in any fashion, like just literally has nothing to do with it, he's not going to be happy. He's going to be upset. Can I rotate this? I can. Oh my gosh, you learn something every day. So he's not going to be happy, and then he's going to revolt. Eventually he's going to revolt, and what's going to happen is you're going to have like this maladaptive daydream episode where you're just like thinking about designing like bread or something. Like you're thinking about baking, right? Like let's say that your art is baking. You're just gonna be sitting there like not actually doing the work, kind of like just having this like weird daydream about like making some awesome pizza or something. You know, just for an example. So how do we fix this? So, I mean, it's really simple. Basically, you just design your workflow so that every single part of you gets something. The way you can do this is through gamification. That's probably the best way to do it. Is you have to... Well, first off, you have to identify all of your parts. For me, I know I have like a gamer. I have like a gaming Damien. He loves video games. I know I have the productive Damien who needs to optimize things. If things aren't optimized and if he's not like designing things for productivity, he gets angry. That's why I have this whole channel, right? That's why my job is what it is. And then I also have, let's see, like an artist in me, and he's in architecture, he's a designer, he loves all kinds of art. So as long as I just meet these guys' needs, and then I put this into my work, guess what you have? An endless source of, I don't like how I keep switching those colors, an endless source of motivation. Look at that. You don't need motivation. You actually have it already. It exists in you. It's called desire. All you have to do is engage with it. If you really want to win, you'll win. Whatever you really want, you'll get. Okay? But you just have to try and get these guys to focus. So in the example before, where I showed the beams, you know, and I was kind of, you didn't see it before, but I made an earlier analogy that was in a different cut about how like it's kind of like a prism, where you have like all these different colors coming out of the prism, and your conscious mind is like the light that comes in. So you kind of have to create a system that does the opposite of that. So it's like all these things are coming out scattered, and they all want different things, and then you have to like dangle a shiny in front of them, and the shiny promises what they want if they focus on this thing, right? And while they're engaging with that thing, they're getting what they want. It's designed that way. If you can design it that way, then instead of scattering all over, they'll sort of focus, and they'll be like, okay, cool, because they're all kind of getting what they need as you're working. They're getting nourished instead of drained. All right? So this is how you create a lot of focus and maximize your productivity, is when every single part of you is happy. And then you're happy. Because guess what? You can't be happy unless every single one of these guys is happy. If one of them is upset, you're going to feel a little bit off. So, the conclusion here is meet your needs. Like, please take care of yourself. And look at that. Fallout's done. That was gaming Damien. He kind of revolted earlier. Let's see. So take care of yourself. And meet your needs. Mastery. So. Oh, I guess I have these backwards. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Every single master of their craft has figured this out. They didn't pick a job or a task that was outside of their domain of interest. There's a lot of debate over whether or not you should have passion for your work. And the honest truth is, like, yeah, a lot of work doesn't actually give you passion, and a lot of the work that does have passion doesn't necessarily mean it won't suck and you won't have bad days, right? So having passion doesn't necessarily make work any easier. It can, but it's not a guarantee. It's kind of flimsy, we'll put it. However, if you can get all these people convinced, if you can get all these different guys in your head on the same page, or like getting their needs met, what's going to happen is your work is going to turn into play. And the thing you have to realize is, you know, as you become an adult, you know, you just grow out of some things naturally, but then there's so much social reprogramming that goes on that you don't want, right? And it's actually also not helpful to you. It's basically just, there's a lot out there in the world, and this is why successful people are where they are. Like, this is one of the common traits among successful people, is they'll typically, if you look at them, many times they'll have questions of like, but why is that like that? Why do we take 2 showers a day? Why do we brush our teeth 2 times a day? And then they just think about it for a second, and it's like, wait, you don't really, isn't that kind of redundant? Like, wouldn't one be enough? You know? So the average person now is like wasting, I don't know, like 10 minutes showering every day when they don't need to, and they already showered. They're wasting some water money, right? And then your millionaire over here, he's like, well, dude, I'm not running. I'm not doing anything crazy. I think if you're running, you probably should be taking a shower right after, or if you're working out or something. But if, like, there's no need for you to take 2 showers a day. But a lot of people believe that you should, right? So just little things like that where it's like, well, why is it like that? So, one, get good at questioning reality. Get good at questioning your belief systems, because the only way you're going to grow is if you question your belief systems of like, why do I think that? Why do I feel that way? But the point I was trying to get to is that people who think outside of the box and don't just do whatever society tells them are, in a way, more like children, because children really don't care. Children will ask these questions. They'll be like, well, but why? Like, it's like a super common thing for a child to just go down an endless trail of, but why? But why? But why? You know? And if you can get good at this, like, you should probably start doing this. You know, you can do it in a more mature way. A lot of times children are just trying to see how far they can go with it. But you can do it in a more mature way of like, okay, but why do I believe that? Okay, but why is it like that? Okay, but why? And then oftentimes what will happen is you'll come to a conclusions where it's like, okay, no, I don't need to do this thing. Or everybody says that this thing is true and it's flat out false. You know? Like, overall, you know, it's a very common theme. I'm sure you know people like this, and you probably also have this kind of undercurrent in your head where people will sort of like be like, oh, like the sheep, or like the masses, the sheeple, you know, just the people who will just believe whatever is presented to them. And I'll tell you right now, is like, this exists at every level of society. It doesn't matter how ascendant or like aware you think you are, you're not aware enough. There's somebody who is above you who is more aware than you are, or is more aware in a different area than you are. So don't get prideful, okay? Don't get prideful and tell yourself like, oh, I'm, I don't know. For some people, this be like awake, and then for other people, this is just like a general kind of feeling of like, oh, I'm like more aware and intelligent than the average person. It's like, I assure you that, one, you probably aren't. Like, honestly, flat out, you probably just have the wool over your eyes. And two, even if you are, you exist somewhere in the scale of wool over your eyes, right? So you might be a little higher than this guy, but you still have a lot of things to learn. You always have more to learn. That's humility. Stay humble. Anyways, let's see. Mastery. So what masters in their fields have learned to do is, well, not learn to do. They didn't have to learn to do anything because they found their field. They became obsessed. And obsession is what's going to carry you. And let me reframe this real quick. You can also just be obsessed with winning. Every single one of you has some competitive nature in you. You just have to find it and engage with it. You all have a competitive actor. I'm sure of that. You just need to find it in the right setting where it wants to activate. So that can also be a source of motivation. But when you become obsessed with something and you're just working on it because you're obsessed with it, and you like can't stop consuming content and information about this thing, and you can't stop like building this thing, guess what you're doing? You're playing. That's the adult version of play, right? So that's what you need to do. You need to find the thing that is not work, but play. So play, not work. And you might say, okay, that's cool and all, but I have to work a job. Like, what do I do? Well, again, you can design systems that reframe your work so that instead of being bad, the work is now enjoyable. You can do this through gamification, which I will teach you how to do in a second. Just making sure that you include all these different little aspects of your personality in your work. All right. So, how do we do this? Or not how do we do this? How do you create incentive systems? That's what I wanted to talk about. So, when you unlock this play, like this play skill, you basically get game mode creative. Like that's actually what it is. Like you just / game mode creative. Like it's like at that point you have very near unlimited potential in your field, and at that point you also have unlimited motivation, practically. And at that point, it becomes extremely easy. It just becomes very easy to do things. And if you have ADHD, it's like whatever this is probably going to be your like neurodivergent obsession, and it's going to be like you're going to become addicted. Like you actually can't stop being successful. You just have to figure out the system. You have to crack the code of how to make your thing successful. And typically, this is going to involve learning skills that you're not interested in. Like full transparency. It's going to involve skills that you're not interested in. And this is where the suck comes in. But the good news is if you can kind of tie these things with incentives to your different actors. So you have to find the incentives that these different actors like. So let's say Gaming Damien, right? He pulled one on me earlier. If you don't give these actors what they like, they will revolt against you. And then it'll be like a back and forth drama. And you'll get like absolutely nowhere in life, right? How do we deal with the suck? Take what... Basically just imbue your work process with the things that every actor needs. So if you can do that, like for me, I have a whole system in place with like XP and stuff for my life in general, where it's like I earn XP for doing certain things. I have a reward system just for sitting down at my desk to work. And I have my desk environment set up in such a way where I can't get distracted by other things. If I sit down at my desk, there's basically a 90% probability that I'm going to get my work done. Because, one, I've trained myself to do that. I've created a habit. But then also, I've cut out distractions. I've cut out the option for that to not take place. So I've made it harder through things like logging out of websites and through things like different extensions and whatnot. I've made it more difficult to not engage with my work. And then at the same time, I make sure that these guys all get what they want. And I'm going to tell you right now, sometimes it still sucks. But it's way less than if you had just tried to use discipline. And discipline, like, I'm going to tell you right now, the ADHD brain, like a little bit of discipline is like hell on earth. It's just like minor inconveniences, okay? ADHD is like, nope, not doing it. Like, it hates chores. It loves challenge. ADHD brains love challenge, but they hate chores. So you have to turn chore into challenge. And you have to make challenge engage with all these different actors. And in reality, there's an actor in you that likes challenge, is the way you can think about it. But I encourage you to go ahead and design systems that engage all your different actors. And just to show you like what happens when you don't, I'll give you one quick example of what happens when you don't. So I'm going to go with myself again here because I know me. So let's say Gaming Damien, he wants to play video games, right? And Working Damien, he gets angry if work isn't being done for an extended period of time, right? Now let's say gaming Damien is just totally like on top of the world right now. Like somehow he's convinced me to like totally get back into my gaming addiction, and he's having like the time of his life. He's like super happy, right? But now working Damien, because we're not getting work done, working Damien feels neglected, and he's just in the corner like sulking, right? And then eventually he's going to build up so much like anger and resentment and all this like energy that what's going to happen is working Damien, and this is like a backwards to what it typically is, but like this will happen to me sometimes too, is like working Damien will suddenly enter a fit of rage, and he's just like mad, and he stands up and he's like, screw it, nope, I'm done, we're not getting anything done, get out of my way, like we need to get something done immediately. And so then all of a sudden he bullies gaming Damien, and kind of like puts him in the corner and gets him out of the way, and just sort of like takes control all of a sudden. And then guess what happened? You have the same exact situation, and then gaming Damien's like being tyrannical, or not gaming, disciplined Damien. Well, I guess we'll call him disciplined Damien because it works. He's being tyrannical, and now I'm overworking myself, and I'm feeling guilty whenever I am not getting stuff done, even if I just need rest. Like when he's being tyrannical, I can't tell the difference between needing rest and actually being lazy, right? It becomes difficult. So then eventually gaming Damien is like, screw this. He's just waiting for this guy to run out of energy, because his energy will deplete eventually as he's getting his needs met from doing the work. So gaming Damien is basically just biding his time and sitting in resentment. And as soon as this guy runs out of enough energy, guess what? He's going to take the crown, and he's going to take center point. And then artist Damien will do it, and it'll be like something completely unhelpful to the other Damiens, you know? And it's like, this is what's going on in your brain. This is why people are like all over the place, especially if you have ADHD. This can be one of the reasons why you're just all over the place. Suddenly have momentum, suddenly don't. It's constantly changing. It's not really secure in any way. That's how it can happen. Go ahead and identify all the different versions of you that are living in you. And one last tip is every version that's living within you, I already kind of touched up on this, but just so you know, can be broken down into even more versions. So artist Damien is also challenge Damien, and artist Damien is also kind of success Damien. Like they're kind of the same thing, right? And all of them are like that. So just break your mind down into these different components, identify what they want, and feed what they want into your workflow. For example, artist Damien, a lot of times I'm designing systems, and that kind of scratches the design itch. And that also, I will try to make like aesthetic Notion templates and stuff, so it's kind of artistful. And you may also sometimes just need to take a break and give one of these guys like a day off, where it's like they just get to do whatever they want, you know? And maybe it's not a whole day, but maybe it's a few hours, maybe it's something here and there, but you really just need to give them a little bit of stuff every now and again so they don't go crazy. You need to kind of bribe them. And once you bribe them, it's much easier to actually focus and get what you need to get done. If you are ready to take the next step in your productivity journey, and if you're serious about success, I'm giving away free sessions as a productivity coach. I also do finance and business, if you're into those things. And on top of that, if you need a little bit of money, I have currently 60% referral rate, which is much more competitive than most sales jobs. And on top of that, it's for 2 months. So everything that somebody buys, like let's say somebody buys weekly sessions, for 2 months of them buying weekly sessions for every transaction they make within that 2 months of you referring them to me, you would get 60% of those transactions, which could be a lot because I work based off of people's budgets. Because how much people can pay will determine how much I'm able to do, and everything I do is completely custom as well because it's to fit people's specific needs and scenarios. So if this sounds interesting to you, if you want a free session, if you want to see if this is for you, or if you're trying to make some money, go ahead and check out my website in the description. There's links in there to schedule calls and emails with me, or you can call me at 316-730-6276. It's 316-730-6276. If I don't answer, just text me for whatever reason. All right, that's all I've got. Y'all have a blessed day. Peace.